Hello everyone, Andy here, and here's what you can look forward to in today's episode. In today's episode, I was joined by Daisy Edwards as we review Week 15 of the 2025 NFL season. I discuss a thriller between the Bills and the Pats.
A real contrast of halves. I mean, the stats they gave about teams' yards first half to second half were just night and day different.
And Daisy discusses the impact of Micah Parsons' injury to her Packers as we review the rest of Week 15.
He's kind of rallied the defence on the Packers, I think, since he's come in. Obviously, we've seen a huge difference in Nixon's performance.
Hope you all enjoy.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Across the Pod NFL podcast. I am, as ever, your host, Andy Davis, and today we are reviewing Week 15 in the NFL. Of course, we are recording this about 4 hours before Dolphins Steelers kicks off, but by the time this podcast is released, that game will be finished. And as you can see, for those watching on YouTube, I am joined by a guest today, a first-time guest on the show. You'll know her on TikTok as Touchdown T with Daisy. With me today, making a show debut, is Daisy Edwards. Daisy, how are you?
Hello, I'm very well, thank you, Andy. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Can't complain.
Good.
That sort of crunch time of the year now. Weather's absolutely shocking outside, so it makes sense that we've got some great NFL action yesterday. It does make up for the poor weather.
Absolutely. My boiler actually broke yesterday, so we had no hot water. So that was fun in the middle of winter. On a Sunday as well. So we obviously didn't really get anyone out until today. But anyway, all good. There were some good games. So was distracted by the NFL that was on.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It was certainly a really interesting Week 15. A lot of things to break down. But of course, you are a new guest, and we'd like to ask all our guests a new question. Now, I've watched your videos, and I don't think I've ever seen on your videos which team you support, if you support anyone at all.
I do. I haven't given it away, actually.
Is it still a surprise?
No, I can tell you. I did have a video idea, and then I filmed it, and I went, oh no, this is too cringy. I can't do this. It was me like swiping away different teams, being like, oh, you might think it's this, you might think it's that, and then I had my jersey on. But anyway, I am a Green Bay Packers fan. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is there a reason for that? Because Packers get a lot of love in the UK, whether it's back in the day Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers, with the whole fan-owned element. Was that kind of why you picked them, or was there a different reason why you chose the Packers?
It was actually so I'm actually fairly new to the NFL. I'm going to put my hands up now. I did some work for them when they came over in it was actually 2023 when I first kind of found out got more into it. So I am very new to it, to be honest, and I kind of got gently swayed in a direction by two of the people that I was working with who were from Wisconsin to become a Packers fan. And I kind of went, oh, green and yellow just they're not really my favorite colors, but fine, like we'll go with it. And then it's kind of just stuck. And actually it's been really fun to watch them, because I think especially in 2023 it was a lot of we had a lot of rookie years, we had a lot of newbies in, and they're finally starting. I feel like we're starting to see them find their pace and their kind of place within the team, especially with like Love as a leader of such. I think we're really starting to see like LaFleur start to trust him. But yeah, so it's actually quite a boring story how I started, how I'm a Packers fan, but it's stuck, and actually it's been really nice, because I think I kind of started my TikTok as well to show that you don't have to have all the knowledge in the world. I'm not here as an analysis. I'm not here knowing everything, but I'm so up for learning, and I think that's a massive part of the game. And especially when I speak to international fans, it's more about passing on that knowledge and learning as you go, and finding things out and talking about it. This kind of thing is what I love, because you can kind of get different people's perspective, and the rules are changing and things are going on and people are jumping in. We've got, Philip Rivers coming in this time. Like there's stuff like that makes the game so exciting, and for such a short season, there's just constantly so much packed in. And I think we've seen that especially in this season with the amount of ups and downs of various things and injuries, and I'm sure we'll get into what's happened obviously this week, but a lot of different sides of it in that sense. So I think, yeah, I'm kind of here saying that it's actually okay not to know all of it and everything all at once, but to start is so exciting, and you get addicted. You get quite addicted to sticking with it and downloading all the apps and getting all your notifications on. And my phone is constantly pinging with NFL updates and Green Bay Packers updates and things like that now, which is fun. It keeps it interesting. So yeah, that's kind of where I started.
That's a great story. I mean, I think everyone can probably vouch for that. That first season you watch in full is probably most people's favorite season. I mean, I look at, my story is basically, watching the sport first in 2008, only watching highlights until like 2015, 2016. And then sort of the 2018 season was the one I watched really for the first time in full, where I'm watching Red Zone every week. I'm watching Sky every week, whereas before it's just highlight shows on BBC or on YouTube. And I kind of think that 2018 season for me is one of my favorites I've ever had, because it's just that first season where you're kind of still somewhat new to the sport. Everything's so brand new, exciting. For me, yeah, I kind of do view that season as, even though the Patriots won that year, I still view it as, quite a big season in my nostalgic view of the sport.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think, that first, I think the first year I watched the playoffs in full, I've never forgotten that. It was just, I kind of think that's the best time of year to be an NFL fan, or you can even argue sports fan if you include, the FA Cup and the Premier League, and if you like the darts or anything like that. It's a great time to be a sports fan around Christmas time and the New Year. So, especially when there is, certainly in the UK. I don't know what America, their viewpoint of it, but in the UK certainly January is a bit slow. My birthday's in January, but apart from that, not a lot happens in January.
That's tough.
January 7th as well, so it's like 13 days after Christmas.
Yeah.
No one's got any money to do anything. Everyone's skinned from Christmas. So January sort of, as a social side of things, for a lot of people I find in the UK, no one's ever free. It's a quiet month. Not much happens, and I think to be able to sit down and watch sport is an escape from what is otherwise a pretty poor month.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think NFL does a great job of that in the playoffs, of making it so exciting. And yeah, let's get on to the Packers, because we are going to skip slightly ahead to what we normally start with Thursday night. But you mentioned you're a Packers fan, and really, there's only one place to start. Packers did take on the Broncos in one of the highlight games of the week. Going into it, you had people calling in Super Bowl preview, the number one seed in the AFC against one of the top seeds in the NFC, and it was a win for the Broncos, 34-26, moving the Packers to 9-4-1. The Broncos are 12-2, becoming the first team, I believe, to reach the playoffs officially this season. But it came at a cost for the Packers, with Micah Parsons going down during the game, and this was one of many injuries we'll be going through in this episode. And it's been confirmed today it's an ACL tear, if I'm right in saying that. And
yeah,
he's done for the year. And who knows when he'll be back next year. I mean, how much of a blow is that? Because the Packers were seen as a team that was going to be probably a playoff contender. I think people were expecting the Packers to be one of the top teams. But I think when the Parsons trade got announced, it kind of catapulted that expectation from, right, this team's going to make the playoffs, to, okay, this team's actually going to potentially go and win the NFC. And I think we've seen the impact he's made, both on himself, his impact, but also on his teammates, and how much he's elevated the players around him on the D-line. Now, out for the year, how much of a blow is that? That is such a big blow for the Packers.
Huge, 100%. I think he will, like you said, he's kind of rallied the defense on the Packers. I think since he's come in, obviously we've seen a huge difference in Nixon's performance, in a lot of those kind of big guys, big linebackers, obviously with the defense. And I think he will continue to do that while still being out. I mean, yeah, it was a tough blow yesterday. Obviously, we had Kraft early on in the season going out with another ACL, torn ACL, and I mean, even Christian Watson, coming back and then going down yesterday as well, and obviously Josh Wiley. Zach Tom, we had a lot of big players that we rely on, to be honest, especially in the defense. And I think I do think that it's going to have completely shifted where we're going in the season, especially into the playoffs. Obviously we've now dropped to the 7th seed in the NFC, and I want to stay positive. I want to stay optimistic, but especially coming up with this game with the Bears next Sunday, I think it's going to be a bit of a tough one, because they're going to come back wanting the revenge, wanting the win. And I do think that blow from losing oh my gosh, what's his name? Losing Micah Parsons, sorry. Losing Micah Parsons is a massive, is going to have a massive impact on us. And obviously we'll see how we get on with these other injuries, but I do think it's going to definitely have an effect as we head into the next few weeks, and obviously potential playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, in a tough division as well. It's kind of think the teams around you. Lions are on 8 wins. I know we'll get on to their result in a minute. Bears, of course, their game yesterday. I mean, it's so close between
10-4.
I think this could be a situation where it's a difference between becoming first in that division and finishing third, and that is such a big difference in not just making the playoffs, but also whether you get home advantage and being the road team. It's huge. So yeah, this injury is massive. Got to praise the Broncos in a way, though. I think they've earned a lot of praise this year on defense, and I think we saw it again with this defense. I mean, 3 sacks, 2 interceptions. Managed to obviously seal the game and get the win. But I think the Broncos' offense was really, if you take, I think there was moments, obviously Courtland Sutton looking at his stats, 113 yards, 1 touchdown. Obviously, the star of the show for the Broncos there. Troy Franklin got 85 yards, touchdown. Little Jordan Humphrey got a touchdown as well. So the Broncos moved it around quite nicely. And I think that, I will be honest, watching, a shout out to Howell, a friend of mine in Cardiff. I went to his house to watch the game in his cabin, and the game on Sky that was on was Lions Rams. So I was only really getting this through sort of updates, and I kind of went home during the second quarter. So then I watched Red Zone. And yeah, so I kind of feel like sometimes you don't get the full view of the game. But from what I saw, this Broncos team, I think for me personally, they found ways to get different guys involved, and it wasn't just Courtland Sutton and RJ Harvey, but I think as well to win a game like this against a big opponent. I know Parsons went down, but I think to still win this game with the team the Packers have and the kind of form they have going into the game, I think it's a good result. I think that is a statement win for the Broncos. I think they were already my pick to win the AFC a couple of weeks ago, and that hasn't changed, and especially hasn't changed after that win. And I think that's a big win for them now. Of course, they've sealed the playoffs. I said before, the first team to do that this season. So I think all round this Broncos team, allowed a lot of points, but it's against a good team. So I think overall, for me, it's just I think that was more of a positive win for the Broncos, and maybe it was a negative loss to the Packers. But you might think differently as a Packers fan. But I just feel like, this is, of me, the biggest sign as ever that they're going to go on and, probably go and win that number 1 seed in the AFC.
Yeah, I agree. I do think they're going to have that AFC top seed. And obviously now they've cinched that playoff spot. I do think, obviously Bo Nix threw over 300 yards and got 4 touchdowns, I think, during the game as well. So that was a big up already. Sutton, like you mentioned, I do think it was a tough watch because of the injuries. I feel like I'd gone from watching the, which I can go on to as well, the Chiefs and the Chargers, having a lot of injuries in that one, to then going to the Packers and then seeing a lot of injuries like Reed going back out as well, and then going back off again. It was a hard watch, but I don't think, like you said, I think it was a tough, with the offense and the defense that Broncos have got at the moment. I do think it was a tough one going into it anyway. I maybe could have called, I feel like I was sort of calling it that way anyway, which maybe isn't the best thing to do as a Packers fan. I should probably back them all the way. However, in realistic terms, the Broncos have stepped up this season, and I feel like we've seen a huge kind of a huge step up from Sean Payton and his coaching within the team as well, and how he's sort of played the game, called the game plays and things like that. So yeah, I think it was a tough watch, but it was deserved from the Broncos. They did, like you said, Humphrey's touchdown, and Sutton's kind of big impact with that 113 yards and a touchdown and things. I think it's fair to let them have that one.
Let's move on to our second game we're going to cover, which is going to be the game that was on at the same time as the Packers Broncos, and this was the LA Rams hosting the Detroit Lions in SoFi Stadium. The first game, I believe, the first game since he left LA for Jared Goff, and we got a great game. It was a 41-34 win for the Rams, and it was really, I think the start we saw to that game was really, how the rest of the game went. I mean, you had, it was they had the interception from Matt Stafford, and then within a play, Sam Brown scored a touchdown, and then literally 4 minutes left later on the game clock, Puka Nacua got in, and then Kieran Williams got in just 2 minutes after that. So it was a really entertaining game. I thought it was really, I think if you're a defensive fan, I don't think maybe it was the game for you, but on offense, I thought it was really good. I mean, Puka Nacua made some great catches in this game. Likes of Colby Parkinson got a couple of touchdowns. Kieran Williams, Blake Corum got involved as well. Jameson Williams for the Lions. It was just, I felt like as a neutral, no real horse in the race. I like both teams. I found myself really enjoying this game. It was just so end to end. And yeah, I think the pick of the plays maybe was the Hutchinson touchdown return. It was almost a touchdown for him as well. I mean, it was about the 4 or 5 yard line he got to in the end. But I felt like the Lions, once again, I think it is a worrying loss, because with the Packers losing, it was a great, obviously they weren't aware at the time because they were playing, but that would have been a great chance for them to, take a claim and, get back level and wins with them. And I think with the Packers losing Parsons, it could be a door to open for them to maybe sneak ahead of the Packers or even the Bears with the Bears' final 3 games coming up. I don't think all is lost for the Lions. I do worry about them a little bit. I think in the playoff game, I wouldn't back them right now, because I do still feel they missed their coordinators from last year. I still thought they missed Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. But either way, what a game that was.
Absolutely. I think it was it was a high scoring game. It was a quick game. It was tight. And it was actually really enjoyable to watch. Obviously, Lions are in Packers division, so I was a bit wary of them. Like you said, they were playing at the same time, so they weren't aware. But I do think it would have been a good opportunity for them to have stepped up. But however, there was some incredible plays there from, like you said, Nacua. He kind of dropped it at the beginning, which is unusual, and then brought it back. And Ferguson's, the Rams tight end, missed the incomplete, and that would have got them up. So I feel like sometimes the execution of the Rams, it wasn't actually the best game we've seen them play. I think there was a couple of things where it could have been tighter, it could have been slightly better, but I do think they still had some great plays that obviously eventually secured them that win, and secured them that playoffs ticket, which is what they needed. And then with the Lions, I mean, that Hutchinson's interception return was incredible. I think it was 58 yards, I think, something like that, which obviously led to that first touchdown from Stafford. To St. Brown, which is what they needed, I think, to kind of set them off. And obviously with the new offense and defensive coordinators that they've got that came in January, I think they've been fair, they've been good, and I think they're kind of showing that they've stayed, I feel like, where they were last year a little bit. Obviously with the Bears suddenly coming out of absolutely nowhere, it's knocked them down a little bit, but I do think from their point of view, from the coordinators, that we're seeing a good game from them. I mean, what was the play? There was a play with Williams that got his first touchdown, because he got two during the game. They were both pretty easy touchdowns. I mean, the second one, when it was less than a yard from the end zone, he literally basically walked in. He didn't even run. There was a wide gap then, and then there was a wide gap for the first touchdown as well. So I think that is probably something that they'll look back on. The Rams will look back on and just look where they can tighten those things up. Because I think as they head into the playoffs, that's what we see from a lot of teams as they go into the playoffs and everything kind of just goes out the window and people panic. And we're getting to that point in the season as well. I think that's why there's been a lot of injuries this week, because I think the players, the teams, that it's getting to those final few weeks with 3 weeks left. And I think they start to maybe do things that they don't usually do, or little plays that they wouldn't usually do. People start to, it's this a natural instinct just to kind of push a little bit harder, isn't it? And I think that's why we're seeing some of those sometimes really good situations, but also some plays that you think that maybe wasn't what they would usually do or the best option for the game. But yeah, ultimately the Rams obviously took it, and yeah, it was a good game to watch, though. I did enjoy it.
Way more enjoyable than the Rams game in London. But we
Yeah.
I think people like to criticise the London game, but we could be getting both Super Bowl teams having played in London this year. Right now, the top seeds are the Broncos and the Rams, and whilst the games weren't great, there's a lot of people in the UK could be saying in February, I saw a Super Bowl champion team that year in London. So I think, people like to, SH1T on the London games. The fans who were there were saying, oh, the games weren't good. But really, I don't think we've seen a Super Bowl even contestant play in London that same season, I think, since the Giants won it 2007. So,
yeah,
we could get not just one, but two. So for me,
completely.
We could all be sitting here saying we saw Matt Stafford throw 5 touchdowns in London. He went on and won the Super Bowl, or we saw the Broncos play an awful game, but they won the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I think both these teams are looking good. Game came at a cost as well for the Rams. We mentioned injuries, and of course Devontae Adams is one of the other main injuries. Way less serious than it was for Parsons and our next player we're going to mention in a second. But it was a hamstring injury. But Adam Schefter has guessed that he'll be back for the playoffs. So I think with the Rams already in the playoffs now, they can afford probably just to not play him for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
They'll use Nakua, but they can use the likes of Terrence Ferguson, Colby Parkinson, use more run game, use more Blake Corum if they want to rest Kieran Williams. So, yeah, it's not as bad as that. But the other injury that was big was, of course, Patrick Mahomes in the Chiefs' loss to the Chargers. So all round, it was a real disappointing sort of. It's kind of, as fans, you want these players to be involved. You don't want these players going down injured, and to have 3 great players go down injured and 2 of them ending their season, it's not fun for anyone. You want the games to be the best possible games for you, and yeah, without these players there, it's never the same. But was there a game that sort of caught your eye on Sunday, Daisy? Because there was so many good games, and you can even put Thursday in that as well. What game for you stood out the most and caught your eye in week 15?
Yeah, it was actually that Chiefs Chargers game. I mean, obviously we had a lot of potential changes in terms of seeding during this week, with if certain people won and certain people lost, then they would be out, or they would be top seed or 7th seed or whatever it is. And obviously for the Chiefs, this was such a huge game because they literally needed it to stay in. Obviously, there was a couple of other things that needed to slot into place, but as it was happening, I feel like we could all kind of see it playing out, and it was a very low scoring game. The Chargers pulled off a stunning road win, to be honest, over the Chiefs, and obviously taking that AFC West lead and maintaining their undefeated record in the division. So I think that was kind of a big statement from the Chargers, that I think they've been playing well all season. Not necessarily a team that would stand out straight away for someone like the Rams or the Cowboys coming back or things like that. Texans defense, for example, like not notable, but they kind of showed where they were and how they were playing in that game. I feel like it was 16-13, so it was a very low scoring game, very tight the whole way. They took down Mahomes early in the first quarter. That was cornerback Reed from the Chargers that did that, and then I just think Herbert really just led them and obviously led that game-winning drive. I don't know whether he should have been playing with a broken left hand. I don't know. I mean, you couldn't really tell. I feel like he he did very well. But I do wonder whether that's something that maybe should have potentially been stepped in and stopped. I don't know how you feel about that, but I just think yes, the players obviously going to want to play, especially when it's getting towards the playoffs. They're going to want to get in there, but I think that was quite a risky decision from them. However, he did obviously he proved everyone, well, me and others I'm sure, wrong. Won the game, obviously some huge passes. Lambert Smith, obviously Chargers wide receiver, got his first touchdown, NFL touchdown, which is a huge thing, and that was obviously that game-winning drive. James, the safety, he had crucial interceptions late in the game as well, and obviously Cameron Dicker as well, getting those kicks in, making those field goals, which kind of put them ahead when they needed to be, and just helped manage the clock. So I think overall Chargers played a very good game in that way, and the defense obviously just continued to shine in those kind of high pressure situations where they do kind of need to step up. And I do think the Chiefs defense did as well. I think they seem to have a lot of injuries or people at least going off to be checked yesterday. So I think that got in their heads a bit. I think obviously Mahomes only went off about 56 seconds before the end of the game or something. So it was very kind of last minute, but I do think the people going off throughout the game was throwing them off, and they seemed to lose momentum. Like every time it panned to them on the sideline, they just looked a bit broken, to be honest. I think they knew where it was heading, and I think that has an effect on the game. The game hasn't ended yet. You've got to keep up that momentum. You've got to keep that optimism going, because yes, obviously it gets to a point where if there's such a gap, but 16-13, that's not a big enough gap in my opinion to give up early. And I do feel like the Chiefs, we slightly saw that. We lost that kind of camaraderie and that kind of, I don't know, that buzz that they had, and Jefferson getting sent off, which again, I don't know what you thought of that. I thought that was quite dramatic that he got kicked out because of the helmet collision. It was obviously on purpose, but I do think that was quite a big decision from the refs. I mean, obviously there's been a lot of controversy of refs over this season at the moment, and call flags they're throwing, calls they're keeping in, and sort of standing on, even though, I mean, there was another which game was it? There was a knee down in one of the games on Sunday. Who was it? It might have actually been in the Rams game. There was a knee down, and it was Parkinson's Rams. His first touchdown being reviewed, and then it's still standing, and you can see that the knee was clearly down before he was in the end zone. But so there's a lot of things like that, I think, where they do call things. But I was quite surprised at that one. I don't know what you thought of that if you watched the game, but yeah, I was quite shocked that he'd been kicked out. But I think that brought down the mood as well.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm honest, we had a game on I'm going to mention in a minute as my games I caught my eye, but so we didn't really see that happen. I mean, I didn't know it happened until you just mentioned it. So I've gone online and had a watch of it, and I can see two sides of the coin. I can see how people will be aggrieved about it because of what you mentioned, but at the same time, the way the rules are, if it is that high up and it looked like it was helmet to helmet, I think personally, I can see why he got ejected personally. But people probably would have different views on it. I can see why he got ejected personally, but I can also see why you think he shouldn't have got ejected. So it goes, it is sort of both. There's arguments for both, I would say, personally.
Yeah, I think a lot of it as well. I mean, I think it kind of goes into flags being thrown and everything that people have been talking about with the referees this season, of how much is adrenaline. Obviously, there he is way too high, and you can see him literally smashing his head into the opponent. So obviously, that I get, there's got to be kind of set rules in that sense, but I think some of it does come from momentum, and I think some of it they're getting to that point in the season again where they are you can see the aggression come out. There's a few more. I mean, we saw it with Watson last week against the Bears, squaring up, getting a little bit kind of feisty, and I do think there's elements that maybe come from that. But I just thought he hadn't, there was nothing else. He hadn't had a warning. He hadn't kind of had anything else as far as I'm aware beforehand. So it just seemed like it was quite a big choice. But yeah, I mean, it didn't stop the Chargers winning, so I feel like they won't necessarily carry it any further. But yeah, it was an interesting game to watch. I think, yeah, the Chiefs, I mean, it's huge. They've been not well since Mahomes started in 2018. I think he's not missed he's actually only been knocked out in overtime in the AFC championships. So it's been 11 seasons since they've not been in the playoffs, which is massive, and I think actually going to be one of the kind of biggest things to happen this year or this season.
Yeah, I think it's massive. I mean, it's the first time since 2014, as you said then, quite rightly, since they made the playoffs. So they missed their playoffs. They're 6-8 right now. They got to play the Titans and the Raiders. That's probably 2 wins, but they got to play the Broncos. And even with Gardner Minshew playing there, there's a chance they could lose to the Titans or the Raiders. So we could see their first losing season since 2012, which got them the first overall pick the following draft. And I think as well, there's a lot of talk about Travis Kelce, is he going to retire? And I think there's a lot of people thinking if he goes out and wins the Super Bowl this year, goes out on a high. But I think the way he's been this year, he hasn't been at all himself, not at all. And I think last year was the same, but he sort of turned it on in the playoffs when it matters, but he hasn't got that option this year. And I think with the way his life is going and sort of there's talk about, I think there's talk about him getting a TV deal to work on the coverage on the as well, obviously movie deals. He already worked on Happy Gilmore too. So I think Kelce's, I think this is it. I think this is it for Kelce. I can see him ending this year. I think Andy Reid could potentially be on retirement watch. I think if the three-peat happened last year, I do believe we would have seen Kelce end it there, and I think Andy Reid might be the same thing. Whether Andy Reid will want to, start with a new rebuild, he might be appealed by that, because let's not forget Tom Brady and the Patriots had 10 years without a Super Bowl, and they managed to then win 3 or 4 more. So I don't think it's for Mahomes. Certainly, I think there'll be a world where he wins another Super Bowl. I just don't think it'll be maybe in the next few years. I do believe that he'll win again, but I think in terms of this specific team with Kelce, maybe Andy Reid chucked into this, I think this particular group, I think that's the end of their run. But I think Mahomes will be fine. I think he'll find a way to win. I mean, he won a Super Bowl through to Smith-Schuster, Kadarius Toney, McCall Hardman. So if you can win with those receivers, then he's proved that he can win with anyone. I know he had Kelce there, but he'll find a way. And I'll say, we're saying this on the last show, is that we've only had one Super Bowl since 2015 season that has not had Mahomes or Brady, and that was Joe Burrow for the Bengals. So I think as fans, as neutrals who don't have a horse in the race, I think we all want something different. I think this is great. I think if you've got, really, it's only now really going to be potentially Matt Stafford or Jalen Hurts who will be playing the Super Bowl again. You think about Bo Nix, Jordan Love, we mentioned just then. Jared Goff has played in one but not won one. If the Ravens get in, Lamar Jackson. If the Steelers get in, they got Rodgers. Fair enough, he's won one. But there's a lot of quarterbacks that'll be in this playoff this year that haven't made a Super Bowl or won it. So I think as a year for fans who, especially ones who haven't got teams who are in the playoffs, I think this is a perfect situation. I think for us, it's a very good chance we'll be getting someone new. Drake May as well, Baker Mayfield, many quarterbacks there that we could see, win that one for the first time. So I think it's very exciting for us NFL fans. I think it's certainly, something different, and I think we all like that as sports fans.
Yeah, definitely. I think just going back to what you were saying about the end of the kind of run for the group for the Chiefs, I agree. I think even before Mahomes tore his ACL, I think that they were going to need to assess a lot of things. Well, several areas of their roster, to be honest. I think obviously tight ends. If Kelce does think of retiring, which I totally agree, I think he's checked out a little bit. I think we saw that in yesterday's game. We've seen it all season, slightly even last season, I would dare to say. I mean, you said it as well, but I do think, yeah, he's checked out a bit. And if he is getting, I didn't realize he had these kind of deals and potential coverage opportunities that have come up. I think that kind of pushes it even more that he potentially might be out. And obviously, I think their passing rushes, running game, I think they've got a lot to kind of to look at and focus on anyway. So it'll be interesting to see what they do next year and see where they start and where they decide to rebuild from. Because like you said, it could go all the way down, or they might kind of just dip in and out of different areas of the offense or defense. But yeah, it will be interesting.
Absolutely, I think for him, I think some people will have probably different opinions on his acting and Happy Gilmore too. But I think as a personality, I think he's made for TV. Same thing with Jason and Fitzpatrick. I thought the same when he left. Some people, in multiple sports who you think, right, they're going to be perfect for TV, and I think he is certainly one. I think whether they just continue their podcasts and that's what he does, and that's sort of they're building that empire, or whether he does go into acting or go into sort of. I can see him almost being a TV presenter as well. I can see it being like where Aaron Rodgers hosted Jeopardy, or I can see him sort of almost. What's the show that Steve Harvey does? That's like Family Fortunes. What's the American version called?
Oh my goodness. I know exactly which one you mean. They've got a celebrity version as well. Yeah, I agree. I think he will definitely. He's got the personality for it. Like you said, his brother has done exactly the same thing. And I do think he'll, whether it is just carrying on with the podcast. I haven't actually seen him in Happy Gilmore 2 yet. I need to watch it. Yeah, I don't know if I'll see him as an actor. I used to be an actor. Well, I sort of not still am, but I did musical theatre for a while. So so I'll have to watch it and judge him on that one.
Well, you have to let me know what you did, because my girlfriend's like really into musical theatre. So
really?
She's like most birthdays or Christmases I bought presents. It's involved around some sort of musical theatre. I think she came down to visit me when I was doing the London NFL game work, and we watched Michael Jackson musical. We've done Sister Act. We've done Broadway in New York. So I'd be need to know what musicals you've done, because I might not know them, but she might well do.
Yeah, definitely. That's fun.
Well, in terms of the rest of Sunday, before I get onto my game that caught my eye, it was a big weekend for the NFC South, as on Thursday Night Football, there was a thriller played between the Falcons and the Buccaneers at Raymond James Stadium. It was a win for the Falcons by 29-28, which resulted in a last-gasp field goal from Zane Gonzalez to win the game for the Falcons. A game that saw Kyle Pitts come of age with 3 touchdowns and 166 yards from 11 catches from 12 targets. And for those fantasy lovers, he earned 45.60 points, which on Sleeper I think was the biggest points of the week. But this caused massive concern for Buccaneers fans. The NFC South was out of their hands after, at one point starting 5-1. But then on Sunday in the NFC South, the Panthers, who had the chance to capitalize on his loss, they lost to the Saints in surprise fashion by 20-17, a result that saw Irish kicker Charlie Smith kick the game-winning field goal 2 weeks after getting his first taste of action against the Dolphins. Elsewhere, it was a win for the Bears, who moved from the 7th seed to the 2nd seed as they won by 31-3 against the Cleveland Browns in a torrid afternoon for Shadur Sanders. Elsewhere, the Ravens got a big win in the AFC North as they beat the Bengals 24-0. The Texans, they won by 40-20 against the Arizona Cardinals. The Jaguars beat the Jets by 48-20, and Trevor Lawrence had 6 touchdowns total in this game, 5 passing, 1 touchdown. As he earned a massive fantasy points total. I did have him on my bench in one of my leagues, which I thankfully didn't actually regret, because I still won my match. But he did end the day with 45.55 points, which is an amazing total. I think might be his best career performance. Elsewhere, there was a win for the Commanders over the Giants. Despite a late comeback from the Giants, it was a 29-21 win for the Commanders in a game that saw Jackson Dart throw for 2 touchdowns and 246 yards. Elsewhere, it was a shutout for the Eagles as they beat the Raiders 31-0 as they snapped a 3-game losing streak. And also, it was a touchdown return for Phillip Rivers and the Colts, but it was still a win for the Seahawks as they won by 16-18, and the 49ers earned a 37-24 win over the Tennessee Titans. And on Sunday Night Football, the Vikings earned a somewhat shock win over the Cowboys, winning by 34-26. But my game that caught my eye was the game on Sky at 6 p.m. It was a AFC East massive game as the Bills travelled to Foxborough and took on the Patriots, a game that saw 2 friends of the show at the game. David Kaprosh, who is one of our resident Bills fans, Bills season ticket holder, he did go to the game. And also a friend of mine, Sean Doherty, who does listen to the podcast quite a lot. Shout out to Sean if you are listening. He was also at the game. Apparently very cold, I had been told. But it was a win for the Bills against the Patriots, a game that would have seen the Patriots seal the AFC East if they'd won this game. Mm-hmm. And at one point, it looked certain. The Patriots were winning this game at one point. It was 21-0. The Bills got a late touchdown as a 2-minute warning arrived. And then they rallied in the second half, scored so many points second half. I believe it was something like 28 points in the second half. As they won by 35-31 in a great advertisement for the league. Josh Allen had 3 touchdowns. Drake May had 2 touchdowns, and it was just a running day was the thing to highlight. 107 yards from James Cook, 148 yards from Travion Henderson. Both got 2 touchdowns on the ground. Cook got an extra one in the air. All round, what a game we got to witness. I think we saw both Josh Allen and Drake May at their best. I think we saw, again, both teams probably struggled defensively. It did end a 10-game winning streak for the Patriots. But I thought again, I don't want both teams winning games. As a Dolphins fan, I'm pretty much, anti both teams winning games. But as someone who didn't really have much of a horse in the race, apart from clinging on to slight wildcard hopes of making it in, I was watching it as a neutral pretty much. And I thought we got a great game. I think this is a really pivotal result, I think, potentially for the AFC East, because you think about the Bills' last 3 games, they've got the Jets, they've got the Panthers, and they've also got the Browns, and then they've got the Eagles sandwich in between. So there, the Browns and Jets, 2 pretty easy games, and then you've got obviously 1 tough game. But for the Patriots, looking at their schedule, they have got the Ravens, and they've got the Dolphins in Week 18. And the Dolphins, I think we're going to want to upset the party here. So, for a while seemed like it was going to be party atmosphere for the Patriots in Foxborough. It seemed like they were going to win that division. They ended up, losing this game, and I think that's a learning curve for Drake May. I do believe that, I think he'll be fine after that, but I think he'll have learned a lot, I think, from this game. But I thought it was just all round very entertaining, back and forth. Both teams sort of gave as good as they got. A real contrast of halves. I mean, the stats they gave about teams' yards first half to second half were just night and day different. I thought all round really, really good game. What was your thought on the game, Daisy?
I actually didn't get to watch the game. I was at the Channel 5 big game night watching the Chiefs Chargers game, actually. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I was there doing that. So between filming, we were literally on the NFL having a look at what teams were scoring what, and the Bills was the one that got the biggest reaction within the studio, just because, like you said, I think it's been a bit of a fight between them, basically, for the AFC East and the Buffaloes. The Bills really showed the resilience there, coming back from a 21-0 deficit. I think that performance it does boost morale, and it really helps as we're heading into the playoffs. I do think, obviously, Patriots are now sitting at 11-3, and the Bills are sitting at 10-4. I don't know which way it's going to go, to be honest. I think they've both got things that mean it could take them in to the playoffs. yeah, I can't comment much on the game, but I do think, yeah, it seemed like, I mean, it's obviously a high scoring, close game again. So it seemed like it was quite a big one, an enjoyable game to watch. It kind of go back and forth quite a bit.
So were you there as a contestant or in the audience?
No, I was in the audience. So my friend runs a cheerleading company and we are the cheerleaders on there. I don't do it, but she was like, do you want to come and watch? And I was like, absolutely. So yeah, I was in the audience. I wasn't part of one of the teams. But it was really cool to watch. Yeah, it was really interesting how they do it and just, yeah, being there. Meeting Sam Quirk and OC was there. He wasn't feeling very well, so he went off quite early. But yeah, it was a really cool experience actually.
Did you meet Dermot? Because Dermot's someone I've always been a big fan of his stuff on the X Factor days and all that. How was
Yeah, he is a dream. To be honest, they're all so lovely. They all came over to the audience straight away because it's quite a small audience. And you go in and obviously they're just like, right, we need you to clap when we start back. And it's because obviously they're going, I mean, it's been commissioned by the NFL, but they're basically, they don't have a set filming. They kind of just have to, if someone's injured, they'll come back to the studio. So it's very last minute. It's like, right, 5 seconds. So it is kind of back and forth. And obviously it's a long game. So you're in there, I mean, about three and a half hours, I think we were in there in the end. But yeah, Dermot came over straight away, said hello, kind of asked who we all support. And I mean, it was really interesting because there was people there there was a Kansas City Chief fan who had a lot to say during the game and then left very quickly at the end of it. And then there was quite a lot of people that have never watched NFL before that had just kind of gone in as audience members. So there was a big range of people. I was sat with my friend's mum and dad who don't follow it. So they were a bit like, I've got no idea what's going on. And I was like, it's going to take me a little bit of time to explain it. But everyone else tells you it's like rugby. It's not, because that's the first thing that I learned.
Couldn't agree
It does
more.
my head in. Yeah, well, my dad. So I've got 3 brothers who all played. My dad played. My granddad refereed. So I've kind of grown up every Sunday at the rugby club. Not they didn't play professionally, but they've always been part of it. Dad ended up coaching and things like that. So I grew up with that, and then that was one of the first things that was mentioned was, oh, it's quite similar to rugby. And as soon as I started watching it, I was like, no, it's not. No, it's really not. And then that kind of, I guess that kind of made me want to learn a bit more about it, because I was like, I'm absolutely baffled how this has ended up a theory that it's got similar, there's not even any similar rules, the ball isn't even the same shape. So yeah, but the studio was cool. It was cool to see, and I think it's definitely helped push the international side of it. I mean, I'm a testament to that, obviously, with the games coming over here and things. It's just amazing to see how much it's growing in Europe and, well, the rest of the world, obviously, with the Melbourne game coming up and all of these things next year. I think it's really exciting. And I think with the games as well, I mean, each season I've watched so far has been so drastically different. Like my first year, I thought, oh, okay, right, they're a good team, they're not a great team. Next season I was like, oh, hang on a minute, no, they're the good team, and now they're not playing very well. And it's happened again this year as well. It just like, you just don't know what you're going to get, which I think is one of the most exciting things as well. You're not ever bored with games and outcomes, and yeah, the whole league as a kind of sport. It's fun.
And that's genuinely one of the best things about the sport, is the fact that it is different every year and different every week. I think we've seen that with, there was a stat with the Vikings became the first team, I think it was either ever or since a certain year, where they shut out a team one week and got shut out the next week, or vice versa. It was, it just changes on week to week. And I think the fact that it's a short season, it does mean every game mattered. So you know your mum, is she going to be watching NFL Red Zone this weekend? Have you managed to convince her to watch it again?
she you know what, I have more interesting conversations with my dad, because we can do the kind of rugby NFL comparison, and he's obviously really into sport. My mum, I don't know if she'll watch it again. I'll ask me again after Christmas and I'll let you know, because I'm going up home for over Christmas, so I'll see if I can get her roped into watching it in the other room with me. But yeah, she I mean, bless her, she would stand at the sidelines in the kind of rugby fields in the middle of December. So yeah, I think she's kind of up for supporting us in whatever we we do, which I'm not going to be playing NFL. However, she's still going to support it.
Well, if you get into the Packers and you go to a game at Lambeau, at least you'll be prepared for the cold, and she's got practice of watching a game in the cold.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. I do need to get out there. I've not done that yet, but maybe next season I want to get down there, go to Chicago, and then quickly go up to Green Bay. not stay in Chicago too long.
Yeah, I mean, Chicago's great, and I think most flights you can get to Green Bay evolve around getting off of Chicago, so you can easily make that a trip out of it. And there's not much to do in Green Bay. I did find there's much to do there when I went, but certainly obviously the main thing you go there for is the stadium. So you could easily make a week out of that trip and then have a 2 or 3 day middle bit of the trip where you go to Lambeau, you do the stadium tour, and you go to and stuff like that.
Absolutely, yeah. And down to Milwaukee. That's where the friend that kind of came over that got me into it. Yeah, so down in Milwaukee and just kind of see all of those areas.
And I will say as well on the rugby thing, I think it is the most nearest sport to NFL is rugby because of the brutalness, but I think that's literally about it because the lateral part of rugby, which is very common, is very rare in the NFL, and there's it's not having a situation. The scrum is not done is done in the O-line D-line thing is similar, but there's not many, I don't think, similarities. And I think the one thing that I remember I found with my dad was he was saying, why don't you just latter it more like in rugby? But the way the rules are, and the fact that downs are so important. I think you couldn't do that every play. Whereas you could lose a ball in rugby and pick it up, and then you'd be fine. But you drop it in the NFL, and then it's a new down, and potentially that could cost you in the game. But there we are. That is the end of the show. So first of all, Daisy, huge thank you for coming on, and hope you had a good time.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. No, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
So for those who are listening to the podcast or watching it who haven't yet come across your work, how can they find you on socials?
So at the moment I'm actually just on TikTok on at Touchdown Tea with Daisy, so you can type that in and you'll see me pop up, and yeah, I do a lot of kind of educational things. I think, as I said before, I'm still learning a lot as well, so it's kind of a journey for all of us, whilst also doing what happened to me, introducing it to people as well, introducing it in a slightly less intimidating way. I think a lot of the time, if you get thrown into it, you're a little bit like, hang on a minute, what's a down? Or like all of the lingo, it takes a bit of time. So yeah, just breaking it down in a slightly simpler way, whilst also still doing little reviews, little bits, things that are going on within the league as well.
Well, there we are. Go give a follow if you haven't already. But in the meantime, this has been the Across the Pod NFL podcast with, as ever, your host today in myself, Andy Davis, with our guest today in Daisy Edwards. And we'll see you guys next time. Take care.